Hey everyone, welcome to Weekend Project. I'm Laura Lynn of the Mama Pop Quilt Shop, and we're very happy to see you here today. Today we're going to work on something I've never really done before. It's English paper piecing. It's hexagons, and you're sewing them together, and I'm putting it on a 10-inch block, and I'm mailing it away to the UK as I watch a streamer on Twitch. Her name is Hexadoodle, and she has this little template that she would like her fans to participate in, and it's very much what we had done a couple of years ago or 3 years ago with the 2017 and 2018 guild member blocks or subscriber blocks, saying where you were from. You know, you did a 9.5 representing whatever it is you wanted on your side, and hopefully we'll have a nice big picture of what you guys had sent to us to make that beautiful quilt at the end. So hopefully I can get that, and it needs to get up on a big rack. It's a big quilt. And this is for her fans that she would like to make a quilt with and put into quilt shows where she lives over in the UK. So I'm very excited to partake in this. Like I say, her name is Hexadoodle. She's on Twitch, and lovely lady, great personality, easy to listen to, and you know, everyday life. Everyday life is everyday life. I wish she was on more, but you know, that's just who I am, and I'm sure you guys feel that way about some of your other streamers too. So I am partaking in this. That's her little top part of her piece of paper, and this is kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing a hexagon flower on a neutral background. So I have chosen Cardinal fabric and I Heart Canada and Cardinal, and then I've got it says to put your name, your Twitch name, as well as where you're from in the center. So I have done that with my embroidery machine, Looper 1971. So if you want to find me on Twitch, go ahead. And that's how I'm going to finish off. I still need to do 2 more, which I'm going to make another one of this one and another one of this one to put on the bottom, and that's going to be my hexagon flower representing me from Canada, one of her fans. So, and this is my neutral background. It's just a tan fabric that looks like wood grain, and I thought that would go quite lovely with the cardinals and you know, Canada and everything else like that. So hopefully it's neutral enough. I didn't want it to be too standout-ish. And then I'm going to add the 2 other blocks down here. So it'll be cardinal on this side and then the black one on this side. And I like the black one because it looks like snowflakes, and this looks like snow falling. And what do we have majority of our year, 7 months of the year? We have snow. So, you know, why not? And then, of course, a little bit of this cardinal fabric that I had left over. That's all I think I have left over. It was a big enough chunk. And this is what are going to be my last 2 blocks. So I want to be able to fussy cut like I did this cardinal here. I want to be able to fussy cut. So when you go to her Discord channel on via Twitch, you get the template that you can print out and do your cuts for your measurements. That's why I have this and this, because that was part of the whole template, right? Okay. So I'm going to line up on the outside here, where it's going to sit. And you have to think of how your block actually sits. Is it the points up? Is it the flat side up? You know, what is the way of your block? So you want to make sure that it's going to look okay no matter which way you have it. So I like this one, I think it was, yeah, because it was a different position than that one. And I'm just going to kind of outline it here. And I did an outline of pencil where the hexagon starts and stops via this one. And then I'm going to take my ruler and then come in and do 1 inch beyond that all the way around, because I have to hand stitch at this. And, you know, I'm not used to that. All right, so here's my line right here. So I'm putting my 1/2 inch. Actually, there we go. There was a textured side to this, and I found it easier just to kind of line that right up and plug on and do a little cut. So, okay, so there. Of course, it's a little fabric wasteful when it comes to doing these sorts of things, but I think in the end, it's still, you know, you're using your stash, you're making something pretty, and, you know, why not, right? Oh, hold on, there it is. Hopefully I cut this right here. I seem to have lost my lines. Hold on. Let me put my template back up here so I know where I am. Oh, there we go. Okay. Almost lost them with the gray texture. So here, there we go. Leave that there. And I can just go 1/2 inch all the way around. And that gives me enough to flip over and stitch to via some very basic little stitches, little, bits of fabric on either side, and then pull through, and you're doing it relatively taut. And of course, not big stitches either, because you'll be able to see those. So you want to give some small stitches. Okay, so once you've got it cut, a 1/2 inch, at least a 1/2 inch, I would say at least a 1/2 inch all the way around, okay? Then when you go to stitch it, I was putting a pin to hold my paper in place so it wasn't shifting. So I just put a pin right in the center, just like that, okay? Very easy peasy, very easy. And then you just start folding over one side and folding over the other side, hugging the paper, and then sooner or later, you're gonna have your little hexagon once you stitch all those little sides and corners down. And then, it's beautiful. All right, so let's put that one there. We'll stitch them all at the same time. So that'll be our other cardinal, okay? And then the black fabric here, which I really like. But I was trying to get 2 snowflakes in it. So I did mark on the front and not the back. So here's hoping that'll be okay. At least it's just a chalk mark and it should disappear. So where's our little ruler? Let's go a 1/2 inch all the way around on this one as well. Easy peasy. This is far much easier to see. Okay. And it's so interesting when I see things pop up in Pinterest or on Facebook or on guild sites and stuff like that of people and their English paper piecing and their hexagons. And I'm like, oh, geez, that looks so complicated. But it's really not. It's not complicated. It's just really time consuming because it's the hand stitch quality of it, right? So, all right, so now I'm going to try and angle my little hexagon template right in the center. And I left my papers in here. See that one, it says, please write your Twitch username and town and country on this hexagon with a permanent pen, but I used my embroidery machine, so hopefully that's okay. I just don't have really nice penmanship, so I hope yours was okay with that. So that was the center one, okay? And then, of course, we still have to hand stitch all these together. So I just did a little bit here, a little bit here, and a little bit there. And then we have to make sure the center gets in and then our sides and everything else like that. So I'm very excited by this. So hopefully putting this right in the center where it needs to be and sticking a pin in. It could be a big pin. It could be a little pin. It could be any kind of pin you like. Okay. And then you got your needle and thread. Sometimes you need a thimble. Sometimes you don't. I mean, it depends on how you stitch, I guess. That's up to you. So let's put our old lady goggles on. And then hopefully with Munchkin, you can get in real nice and close here. And we're just going to fold one side down. And I'm going to lose the knot on the underside. So I'm just going to come up on the underside of the middle. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to wiggle it so I can get to the other corner and fold it so it's snug up against the paper. And I just want to take a little bit of the one side and a little bit of the other with that fabric and the needle and thread, and then just pull. And I think she was doing one as she was doing hers. I don't know, I'm not that confident, so I'm doing 2. So I'm just doing 2 little, and then I'm going to go to the half and put a little, just for stability's sake. I don't know why, but I was doing it that way. And then again, just a little bit on the bottom, one full through, and another, just to make sure I want like a nice exact point. All right, and then a little in the middle. I'm only taking the fabric. I'm not taking the paper. I'm not attaching it or tacking it to the paper at all. I'm just taking the fabric only. Oh, sorry. And then just securing that stitch because I want to be confident when I go to put it together. I don't want it to be I don't want to have to question whether that's my straight point or not, or my point that I need to be at. So I'll just take a little bit of the one flat side and the one that just came folded over top. None of the paper, just the fabric. And that one I just went straight one to the next. So I mean, depending on the size, I guess, it depends. So it's been interesting. I was actually having really a lot of fun with first picking my fabrics because I really want to represent, my country in Canada. You know, she doesn't really know. Well, I mean, she knows now because she actually popped into one of our chats actually, but you know, she didn't know who I was before. It's just Looper. So there we go, and that'll be one. There we go. Two little snowflakes in there. Okay, and then I just kind of did another one just to secure it, just for that corner purpose, and then clip the thread. Okay, and of course remove the pin, and it will get lined up with these guys here, down over on this side. So, because I want the snowflakes to go all sorts of different ways, because that's the way they do here in Canada. And then the next one is the cardinal. Okay, we'll do the same thing. We're just going to start slowly flipping over our fabric over the edge to the paper template and stitch down, and that's going to make our little hexagon. That's pretty neat. I thought it was neat. It's, oh, didn't tie it up. And it's very something you can take as your, you know, you don't have access to a sewing machine. You can still work on this and, you know, make a bunch at a time, and then you reuse your paper templates after you give it a good press and a starch or whatever. So I'm very excited to see what her finished project is going to look like when she gets it all quilted, because she's got fans from all over the world, very much like we do here at the Mama Pop Quilt Shop, and thank you very much for that. And if anybody is on Twitch and didn't know about Miss Hexadoodle, go ahead and check her out. She is amazing. Please do. Okay. Share the loves. She's got a very busy life, but don't we all? I'm glad she shares it with us a little bit. Okay, and then just folding it over. Try to be consistent with your folds. They're all going the same direction. I think that's just going to add stability to your little square or block, because at this point you're pretty much making a block. Okay, and then once you get these done, because I figured showing you two would probably be good. You get the jibby of that, and then I'll show you how to put them all together. So once you get to that one part, you want to tuck that in flat, and then fold this over like all the other corners. Okay, and it's snug as a bug in a rug. And then just another one just to kind of stay it, because we are clipping it here. Okay, and then pull the pin out. You don't need that there. And then to here. So if I want that, make sure the cardinal's that way, or the cardinal's, I kind of actually like the cardinal that way. So that's going to be my block to represent me from Hillsburg, Ontario, Canada, for my UK streamer. So this is going to be a block is going to go in a beautiful quilt. Like I said, very much like ours that we started in 17 and 18, and we finished the first quilt. We have, I think, a couple of blocks ready to go for the second, but we haven't had a lot of entries in lately. So I thought maybe some people forgot about that. I haven't really talked about it either. So, all right. And then we're just going to stitch those together. So I have this one, the middle one to the side here, and then these sides together. So what we really need to do is work on this one and this one. So you just want to work on that one section at a time. So you're going to go and you're just going to flip it, and you're just going to pinch it together. You can use some clips if you like. That might help you, depending on the size of your project. You're going to put a little tiny knot at the end, or you don't have to. And I was just going in where the fold is, where the fold of the fabric is. I just kind of came up to lock that little knot in there, and then just take a little bit of both fabrics and then loop back over. Just move your hand back over, and then both fabrics, just a little bit. You don't want the paper, because you want to be able to take that paper out and reuse it. So just a little bit, because these are going to be like your machine stitches. So you want to make sure they're consistent and they're strong. Don't pull your thread too tight, but you're trying to be at least consistent with your stitches. Okay. And pick a, complementary thread or a neutral thread. I just got gray here because I figured pretty much in every one of these blocks there's some sort of gray or white tone. So I figured gray would be okay. And then how I attach it to the neutral square could be via some hand stitches or just machine zigzag on top. So I think a lot of people, which I was seeing on her channel, were just zigzagging it on top. Okay, so now I got that all together. Look, now it's beautiful, stitched. We're just going to tie off at the one end here, just a little bit, just taking a little bit of the back fabrics from at least two and try and tie a knot. And then try and bury those that thread into something else a little bit farther down. Okay. And then once you got all your little flower together at this point, because this is kind of where we're making a flower, you can pull all your papers out. So this kind of makes sure it's all good together and stable. So, all right, now we're going to take this one, these two right here, and stitch them together. So I'm going to flip it, squeeze this side here. And whether you're a lefty or a righty or a righty or a lefty, it doesn't really matter. Oops, I lost my thread. Work your way from left to right or right to left, as long as you get it done. And of course, you can always line up a few, so you're kind of maybe going around the center of the flower and then up the sides. I mean, you could do that. There's lots of different ones. This is a great way to bust your scrap fabric or your extra fabric that you have. You're not quite sure what to do with. You could be cutting out hexes, and even just putting a few colors together would make a beautiful project. Wouldn't take too long at all. Okay, so you just stitch it just like that, very easy, one above the other. Doesn't have to be too fancy. Okay, I'm trying to get it so you can see it, and hopefully Munchkin can zip in there. Okay. You're just taking a little bit of each, top and bottom. All right. Trying to pull your other threads out of the way. Whoops. All right. Some people use a back and forth stitch or a ladder stitch, which is just taking a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. So, I mean, there's many options. You find what's good for you and work with it. You may find one stitch is easier than another. You may want to lock your stitches like through a loop at the very top, just to make sure everything's nice and secure. I mean, that's up to you. Okay, now I'm going to try and lay it flat and then tie off between the white, black, and the gray there. Like I say, do a little tie off, a little loop, and then bury those stitches, or the last of the tail, I guess, in the end. Okay, so there we go. We're working it. And then we'll just do the same here, and here, and here, and then I'll have my little square done. So I just have to square it up. I think it's a little bit long here. I did put a point where I had the center of the block to make sure the center of my embroidery was going to sit maybe right in there, so it would look lovely. So, and that is my weekend project. Isn't that cool? That's a little bit of English paper piecing. It was very nice and interesting to be able to go on this adventure and partake in it. So. If anybody's doing one, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the block. Or if you have any English paper piecing, that would be lovely to see as well. So hopefully encourage you to do something different instead of just sewing with a sewing machine. You can hand sew and get a beautiful project. And you could even just hand sew this right down onto, do like a little blanket stitch or something like that. And that's one block. You know, make 25 of them, you got yourself a quilt. And a lot of time. Thank you, everybody, for liking and subscribing, and we'll see you for tomorrow on February 29th, 2020 for our 12-hour live stream. We're going to be puttering out a few things. We've got some UFOs to do. Munchkin and I are going to do some baking. Pop and I are going to have a jelly roll race. It's going to be a lot of fun to be had, and we got some bags to make to be able to give it away to our fans. So we greatly appreciate you if you can show up and hang out for a little bit, and we hope to see you then. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. And that's Hexadoodle from Twitch.